Vincenzo's Gold Crypto Investing this November the 18th, 2025. Cryptocurrency, blockchain technology, and gold and silver bullion. And the critical question is, since October 6th, the crypto market has lost over 1.1 trillion. I repeat, 1.1 trillion, with Ethereum seeing a sell-off on October 10th that liquidated 20 billion from traders. That's right, 20 billion and 1.1 trillion in crypto market lost. Is this the end? Was that the dump? Is that the bottom? And now the bull market can continue? Or is this a sign of things to come, pressure to come from corporate quasi Bitcoin treasuries that may be forced to liquidate as the price tanks and a feedback loop appears on itself? Libra Scandal wallet quietly moves 4 million and go all in on Solana. We're going to get into that and what we're expecting in the Bitcoin price over the coming months. BitMix, Bitmine acquires an additional 173 million in Ethereum. Bitcoin slides below 90K. Why crypto is crashing today? Nobody cares. There was something here with the outflows. Key facts: Ethereum faces 689 million in outflows. BlackRock deposits 54 million. Ethereum Ethereum experienced 689 million in outflows from investor products, about 4% of its total assets, the following a previous week of 438 million in outflows, indicating ongoing investor uncertainty. BlackRock deposited 54,730 Ethereum, worth 176 million into Coinbase, following a previous transfer of 22,681 Ethereum, valued at $80 million, indicating strong institutional interest in Ethereum. Ethereum is under pressure as Bitcoin drops below key support levels, raise risk uh, evasion among traders, leading to hesitance in investing in altcoins like Ethereum. Right? There's a lot of things going on right now. Um, Hacker behind Musk and Obama Bitcoin scam faces staggering $5 million bill as stolen crypto soars. So we'll get into some of that news. We're going to get into the Bitcoin price, but we're going to start off in the XRP department, right? Get some focus on XRP because XRP is at a critical spot. You can see we've had the bearish cross. We're about to have the golden bearish cross where the 100-day moving average gets below the 200-day moving average right there. You can see we're forecasting it by the end of the week. That's going to happen unless there's a major reversal in the short term of the price action, which could happen, but it's more plausible that we're going down to $1.87. But we're going to go down there in this jagged up and down fashion like we've been doing the last couple of days. Could we even retest this overhead 50-day in the weekly? Yes. But even if we do, I think our next move is coming down here in the XRP price all the way down to $1.87 and continuing the sell off from the great dump. And look at the great dump, all in that hour time frame. A couple of about not eight, so what, 7 weeks ago now, 6 weeks ago, it went down 60+% in a matter of a few minutes, showing lack of liquidity and a major red flag and concern and hesitance to have large portions of your net worth stored long term into this coin. It's it's very vulnerable to very bad things happening, right? But you can see on the downside risk right now is $1.87, and then you would expect a rally off of $1.87, and I do, to at least come back into the supply zone, which is at about 234, near where the price of the XRP is currently sitting at, right? Let's delete that. But after that said rally in the future of this, I am not a financial advisor. I cannot predict the future. I'm just showing you what could happen. After you get rejected, then you come down to this $1.36. And that doesn't mean that that's the ultimate low. I see a way where we could come all the way back down in a full lateral move. We'll mark the daily time frame. No, not that one. I want the brighter green. Come on. Of course it would do that. No, I want to click that one. There's the brighter green. Thank you. Shit. But we could come a full lateral flush all the way down to 70 cents. The major top part of that upper resistance that we were at for the better part of 2 years, 2021, 2022, actually 3 years into 2023. You can see it was resistance, then it was support, then it was support, then it became resistance, 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 until it finally blew up. And could we see that full lateral flush? And if you watch some of the videos, when first 5 months from December, January, February, March, April, May, and June, when we had this head and shoulders topping out reversal pattern that almost got to our $1.28 target, it went down to $1.61 right there. Then it reversed, but then we were drawing this double top that it could be going into, and it did. It reached a new high. That would be a double top, and then you come all the way back down into the Bart Simpson pattern, and then you have a nice return rally. And that would be where the next major gains, the next major pump, the next major move, and the minted millionaires are made again, because you would have essentially a spot where, say, you dipped into this blue support and resistance box to get back to the high, you're looking at another 4.5x move. That will happen. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I believe it's very, very plausible. And that is the next major setup for the next millionaires to be made. And this currently is in the next dump cycle to make all the retail that bought over the last 9 months up here. Any of them that bought up all that to get fleeced, heisted, and shisted, because they will be dumping and selling and capitulating out if that bottom does happen on this double top around 70, 80, 90 cents. So that's something we're going to be watching out in the future of the XRP price. And you can watch videos from months in the past where we were talking about that. But right now in the XRP price, you can see, or the XLM price. Oh, I was wondering where my markers were. We need to go into this one. XLM. You can see XLM is up 4% today. I believe XRP was lagging a little bit. And you can see where we're at now, where we have our bearish options. Right now, we're just below the 100-day, day moving average in the weekly time frame. We are safely below the moving averages in the daily time frame. We're having our minted bearish cross, golden bearish cross, where you can see that it's official now, where that 100-day moving average is ever so slightly, but it is below the 200-day moving average. And then the 50-day is sitting right on the 50-day moving average in the weekly. And the current price is just below the 100-day moving average in the weekly time frame, right? So you can see what's going on here. We're making a return rally back to upper resistance, which is now the 100-day moving average in the weekly. Now, if you can't get back above this and hold it to try to get short-term bullish, you're going to get rejected, and you'll get a harsh rejection. And if you get a harsh rejection because you're dancing around here over the next couple of days but can't hold it, you will end up down on this 200-day in the weekly time frame before you know it, right? And it'll happen very, very quickly. And that's what we're watching out for on the bearish scenario in the short term, is 21 cents. And then even eventually, potentially 18 cents and even 14 cents, which is getting back down to just about pre-pump levels from the 2024 Donald Trump induced rally, right? So that's something we're looking at in the XLM. Obviously, if you want to avert that, you have to hold major support on that 100-day moving average and pump. You can see Ethereum is still bouncing and trying to hold after a big volatile last couple of days right here. You can see we're struggling to hold the bottom part of this green support and resistance box at 3,064. If you can continue to hold this 3,064, you can try to make a run all the way back up here at the 3,476.36. And that is your major upper resistance in an area that is just below the 200-day moving average in the daily time frame, in an area that you have to break, hold, and stay on top of in order to turn short to medium term bullish, right? Yes, you understand this. Because if we keep struggling down here on this 3064.92, you're going to eventually break that. And as we do know, the next major area of support is all the way down here at $2,475. And if we scroll from left to right, what is over here on $24.74 is a mid-ground consolidation when you were pumping last year when you were all the way down here briefly before you had this massive rally at the mid and late summer going in the fall, and you went from about $1,300 all the way up to a new all-time high. You had this mid-ground consolidation after you were attempting to break out of this blue support and resistance box up at the resistance. You finally broke out of that. Then you had a massive consolidation followed by a big fake out that turned into the final leg of the rally that actually dumped. You see this big consolidation. Then you had from peak to trough a 30% correction before you had another 150% move, right? So that's why that's your major area of support right there if you can't hold where you're at now in the X or in the Ethereum price, excuse me. And if you want to hold that, you got to stay above this and turn this around and you fight above the moving averages. But that's a lot of work and that's a lot of time that it's going to take. This isn't going to be a quick turnaround, but I still feel across the sphere we have much more downside than we do upside right now. I believe that this market is not flushed out. People think it is, but it's not. You can see the Bitcoin price is confirmed now, I believe, out of this 3.5 year rising channel. You can see where it started back there around early 2023, continued on multiple areas of support and resistance. It exhausted itself. Now it's coming down to that 85,468.79, followed by a nice rally, and that is the 100-day moving average in the weekly time frame. We've confirmed now below the 50-day in the weekly time frame up there at around 100,000. And if you can't hold this after some bouncing around like this, before you know it, you're going to end up at $65,840 in the Bitcoin price. Micro strategies and all these quasi Bitcoin treasuries are going to have very uncomfortable conversations. There could be some forced liquidations to pay down and pay off and quiet down some of that margin that they will be underwater on. And that will be a feedback loop on itself because as they have to cash out some of their Bitcoin to pay off some of this margin, that turns into sells into the open Bitcoin market, thus forcing the price even lower, then dragging their positions down lower in the negative, forcing more margin calls, requiring even further selling of the Bitcoin to regain some more of that capital. They need to pay down more of that leverage and margin to keep the banks and the loan people off their back, but each time they do that, it drives the price down further, which drives the margin down more, the value of what they have down even lower, and heightens the margin requirements they must pay. Thus, again, repeating the same process, or at some point coming forced liquidations where they force them to liquidate at a loss, and then that's how companies go bankrupt, right? So this is very interesting on what's going on. We're going to continue to follow this. I'm going to get this video out to you. I'm going to try to get you a nice long video this evening. Like the channel, become members of Jabroni Killer. That's the quickest, easiest, and cheapest way to help support the channel. Video description and or pinned comment starts at as cheap as $3.99 a month. It helps keep the lights on, supports the channel, and allows us to expand ourselves and reach and movement. Peace and love to my future asset millionaires. Jay.